Well, the face-off between the wrestlers and the government doesn't seem to be stopping. And in fact, today, Bajrang Punia had put out a statement via Twitter, giving out and chalking out the further course of action. And today, he goes on to make a very big statement where he says that all the protesting wrestlers will be going to Haridwar to immerse their medals which they have won for the country in the past many years today in River Ganga as sign of the protest. And in fact, he also goes on to say that once they'll return from Haridwar, they will continue their protest at India Gate. So now things are becoming more fiercer between the government and the protesting wrestlers. And in fact, it is very clear that now wrestlers are refusing to budge. In fact, this is the very statement which has been put out by Bajrang Punia. And in fact, in the beginning only, he goes on to make an emotional appeal as to what transpired on 28th of May, which is Sunday. This was the same day when that entire ruckus broke out at Jantar Mantar when the protesting wrestlers gave a call for a Mahapanchayat in front of the newly inaugurated Parliament building. But the police official had maintained that Section 144 was in place, and because of that, they weren't allowed to actually go towards that very place. In fact, we saw how dramatic visuals came out from that very protest when wrestlers were actually dragged by the police official and they were stopped by the police official to move towards that very certain point. And in fact, after that also the wrestlers tried to come back to Jantar Mantar to protest, but the police had maintained that no new permission has been granted to these wrestlers to actually protest at the site. So from then till now, one thing is very clear, that wrestlers are not ready to budge. In fact, they are trying to level up their protest. And in fact, now the protest for today, the entire drama will shift to Haridwar, where they will be throwing their medals in River Ganga. And after that, they will coming back to the national capital to actually start their protest once again at India Gate. The interesting thing is to remain to be seen whether they will be getting any permission to sit there at India Gate and to perform their protest and to actually go ahead with the protest which they were doing from more than a month now at Jantar Mantar. This was the statement, and in fact here Bajrang Punia goes on to say that ye medal ab hame nahi chahiye. So this is a very strong statement coming in from Bajrang Punia. And in fact, what the sources have also suggested us that wrestlers have already reached Haridwar, and in fact they are actually planning something big today because they want to give out a message that you can actually remove us from Jantar Mantar, you can stop us from moving to the new Parliament building to protest, but you cannot stop us to put across our word, which is, in fact, there is only one demand these wrestlers have been raising since day one, that is arresting of Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, against whom they have made very serious allegation of sexual harassment and other discrepancies in the working of Wrestling Federation of India. And in fact, here also, yet again, he goes on to give the timing of that very very thing which they're going to do in Haridwar. In fact, he says that आज शाम 6 बजे हम हरिद्वार में अपने मेडल गंगा में प्रवाहित कर देंगे. So this is a big statement coming in from all the faces of this wrestling protest. And in fact, it's been almost 6 months now since this issue has been dragged. In fact, earlier this year, this entire issue began when in fact wrestlers came out to Jantar Mantar to put across a word, and in fact to make that very serious allegation against Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. And now, after a break of almost couple of months, they returned back to Jantar Mantar, and now this face-off is only extending, and in fact wrestlers are not ready to budge.